Hello and welcome to The Straight Report. I'm your host, Tonya G., joined by Miss Brenda Scott. And tonight's show is sponsored by earthblendcoffee.global. To order, click on the link in the Facebook's description box. It's just great coffee. Call in live to be an on-air guest, 800-492-5186. My guest this evening is Mr. Bennie Foster. He is here to talk about his open house initiative. He is a youth mentor, a community activist, a businessman, entrepreneur, among other titles. And he's going to talk about open house and tangible solutions that's needed to change some of the issues that the city of Jackson is facing. Thank you so much for being here, Mr. Foster.
Oh, man, it's a pleasure to be here. I salute you both.
Yes, yes, sir. So I want you to talk to the audience or the viewers about just a little bit of your background, how you grew up, and then we'll get into the open house initiative.
Okay, ironically, full circle, I'm back doing something that I love. At Jackson State University, I was going to Jackson State for social work, and I began to pledge Omega Psi Phi fraternity at Jackson State, and they said, well, you got to have some community service. And I'm like, what's community service? You know, I didn't even know what community service was. But they was like, do something in the community. So I went to Blackburn Middle School. You know, behind every HBCU, there's a middle school or elementary school.
Right.
And I spoke to them and told them I had a desire to tutor young people that needed help. And that's when I got bit by the bug of intervention prevention. I didn't want to help the kids that were doing well. I wanted to help the kids that were slipping between the cracks. And that started my journey throughout the years, in school, out of school, public school, private school, juvenile defects, Department of Juvenile Justice. I've always worked with young people, giving them a different look on life.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So talk about, I guess, were you mentored as a child? Talk
I've
about
always been mentored.
Being mentored and how that poured into you.
Shout out to Tyree Macbeth, coach at Callaway High School. He's my track coach. And he literally helped me even know that I had opportunity to go to college. And I can remember one time when the gangs had came to Jackson back in the 90s. I'm telling my age now. The gangs had came to Jackson, and these were literally people who had been pushed away from their own city and state because maybe someone was bullying them or whatever, and they would come here and emulate what they saw in Chicago, in New York, and they would bring the gangs to Jackson. And so it was around that time that I was involved with basketball and track, and I can remember walking down the hall, and Coach Macbeth had already been my track coach, but he called me and said, "Come here, Bennie." I said, "Yes, sir." He said, "You with the wrong crowd. You might want to think about who you with." And I was like, "Huh?" He's like, "You with?" I said, "How you know?" But he was watching. So that type of mentorship is the type of mentorship that I've always been able to observe, point in the right direction, redirect. You have several things. First of all, you have to identify with what the issue is with a young person, and then you can literally redirect them, and I call it intergage. It's 2 words, interaction and engagement. Once you do that, you can kind of release and watch them. So even though I was in track, into basketball, I still was kind of like mixing with the wrong crowd. So I've had mentors throughout the years, whether it's spiritual mentors, whether it's business mentors. You can always copy success from a mentor. And so even when I identify the young people that we want to work with, I'm looking for the leaders that are already leaders but just don't know how powerful they are, and giving them a different set of tools, help them tap into their gifts and talents on the inside, and then help them be able to lead those young people in a different way. It's not all about me or you or the other leaders. It's about the young people that have leadership in them, and it just hasn't been stirred up yet.
Right. And I want to talk about that a little bit deeper when we get into the open house initiative. But before we do that, Bennie, tell me what you think the issues are in the Black community, just some of the issues that we're facing. I know how you came about with this interview is we were talking about crime and violence in Jackson. But what are some of the core issues as you see it that's affecting the Black community?
Leadership. It may not be, I guess I'd say, politically correct to start off with the head, but why not? I mean, leadership is key. And I had someone tell me that we should throw these young people away and start with the younger kids. And we can't do that because there's a generational gap. And unless we deal with that gap, the young people that you're thinking are not being influenced. They're being influenced strongly by social media, by news, by music, by council meetings and representative meetings and all that good stuff. I say that tactfully, that they're watching.
Right.
And they emulate what they see. They mock what they see. We become what we watch. There are 3 things, Miss Brenda, you and I was speaking briefly before this. The 3 E's, your environment, your experience, and your exposure. Those 3 things dictate change in your life. They dictate who you become. And unless we deal with those 3 things right now in Jackson, Mississippi, we're going to keep getting the same pattern of results.
Exactly.
So leadership would be first. The other thing is unity. We have to understand how powerful we are. I have this hashtag that I started with the call to Jackson when I wrote the letter to Jackson, and it's stronger together. There's a biblical principle that said, look, they're on one accord, thinking one thing. Nothing will be impossible to them.
Right.
And until we get that and understand that 2022 is about fusing the vision, not confusion and division. There's a bunch of division, whether it's I like your shirt or I like your hair or I like your whatever. We are divided on so many different levels that it's hard for us to come together concerning anything. But is there not a cause at this point? Is there not a cause with 153 deaths in the city of Jackson? On one list I heard we're number 7. On a new list I heard we're number 3 top 10 crime cities. Is there not a cause? And so after 25 years, I'm back here, and I want to talk to that leadership. not just in the streets, but as well as the representatives, the mayor, the police chief, whoever I need to speak to. I don't discount anyone's viewpoint, but my main focus would be the young people. You know, I think those young people have been crying out for help, and for 153 murders to be wrapping up the year of 2021, we don't want to go into 2022 with the same type of energy, being on the same frequency and operating on the same vibration that we did to get those deaths. Right. And so we have to change those things.
I want to add, and you were talking about the coach telling you were hanging out with the wrong group. Today is so much different and so much more violent than when you were in school. Mm-hmm. And I wanted to ask you, do you think that most single-parented homes are headed by females?
Yes.
And when you talk about leadership, we're talking about overall leadership, even within the home. Mm-hmm. But if you look at government have a role to play as well.
Yes.
And when I think about public schools, when I was in school, we had counselors who would, advise us and, check on you and things like this. But we very rarely, we may have one counselor
one guidance
at
counselor.
A school.
Right.
And it's okay that we're talking to Johnny when he's in trouble, but who goes to check on Johnny when, just how are you going, Johnny?
Right,
because
Brenda.
a lot of it goes back to the economics. I'm a single mom. I worked the 2 jobs, so I had a village back when I had my kids.
Yes.
We don't have that. So communication is very important, but we don't want to get it twisted and let, not that you, the parents off the hook looking at elected people and what they should be doing as leaders.
Ms.
But
Brenda.
we all should accept the role of leadership.
Yes, 2 quick things. Right. One word, 2 words, socioeconomics, the word.
That's right.
2 things. Let's do some math right quick, all right? So our kids get home at about what time every evening from school?
3, 4.
About 3:30, 4 o'clock, right? And if you're a good parent, you're going to have your kid in the bed by what?
8.
8, 9 o'clock, right?
8, 9.
So that's 5 hours that we have to deal with our young people, our children, with homework, with how was your day, whatever. And then, but we went and worked at a job, socioeconomic again,
right,
that is not paying us the appropriate money, right? So therefore, you're stressed. Let's just remember this word, stress, right? And so now we have teachers who are great educators,
right,
who, from what I hear, the starting pay is under $40,000, $37,000, $38,000. Right. Who can live off of that?
Nobody.
And who can now deal with your issues and your problems and your child? Because it does start at home.
It does.
I may be stepping on some feet, but it starts out. But what if the home is dysfunctional?
Exactly.
Okay, open house.
Exactly.
We'll speak.
Yes,
Pin that.
yes.
Open house. That's why it's a home that we're looking for our location. So we can get that home training, that home love, nurturance, structure that you didn't get, particularly at the home that you grew up in, right? And so now the other thing I want to talk about is those teachers not being paid. How can you expect a teacher to be on this great balance beam of being, first of all, a teacher, a nurturer? Because teachers do nurture.
Right. And they also the providers at their homes.
That's
so
true.
The money is
That's
funny.
true.
But they at school, what? From what time? 7:30, 8 a.m. in the morning until about 4 in the evening. So your child is actually with the teacher more than they with you.
Exactly.
Right. And so therefore now we have to now look at better paying jobs, employment, entrepreneurship opportunities, not just for the parents, but also you need to address the fact that the teachers are not getting paid the appropriate amount of money to be there, to be present, to be cognizant of what's going on with those children. Because some schools you have such a tight schedule that they don't leave room for what I call the human touch.
Right.
I taught pre-K starting out when I went to Atlanta. When I moved from here and went to Atlanta. Those 4-year-olds are so impressionable.
They
4 years old.
Yeah.
One of the best times I ever had in education, right? And they will emulate and they will regurgitate everything that they see. And so it starts at that early preschool age.
Right.
And now, if you're not addressing certain things that you see that need to be addressed at that point, by the time they get to middle school, they're behind.
Right.
And by the time you get to middle school, and hopefully I can say this on it, by the time they done smoked the smoke, drank the drink, and got them a little bit, they think they grown.
That's true.
And so 15, 16 years old, you're being unattended, you're dealing with life, and you think, but no one taught you how to be an adult.
Right.
Because some of our adults are not adulting. And so we can now act like that it's the young people, and we don't know what to do. But guess what? They got it from us.
Yes.
And so when you think about now, teachers, parents, and then all of them being stressed, can it not be feasible to think that this stress is being passed down to our children?
Absolutely.
And so these young people are stressed out. That's why they're relating to violence.
Right.
You know, you were saying you taught at the pre-K level.
I loved it.
And this is what I have been saying for the longest. You know how they have these incentives to get teachers in the Delta area and stuff?
Yes.
They should invest in getting more males at the pre-K elementary level because, like I say, most single-parent homes are headed by females.
True.
The sooner you can get a male into that child's life, not saying women have not done a great job, but you were saying how impressionable those kids are. And to have a male figure there, it because they grow up, they're the only man they see. They think they the man of the house from pre-K to
25 years ago, we were rare. We still rare now.
Exactly.
Yes.
I
Children just are going to respond to males differently than women anyway.
I was a rarity back then, and right now still. And I don't know what's going on. I have to reach out to Jackson State University, my alma mater. JSU rocks the house.
I love over there.
Yeah, I would have to reach out to them and see how I can get the football team involved with their great success. They're superheroes right now. So somebody tell Dion to hit me up. Tell them to pull up.
That's right.
And so, we have to talk their lingo. We have to know their language,
That's true.
And he came with a concept that we believe, and he changed the whole face of that football team. Well, I believe that we can change the whole face of Jackson, Mississippi. Just like he teamed up and dealt with the energy and the mindset, and they did paradigm shifting. We can do that same thing for the community of Jackson. And we can ride this success wave that we have and not just be successful in football, but we can be successful as a community and as a city.
I agree with that, Bennie.
Yes.
Producer, can you put up the open house vision there so that the people can call in? We have about... Yes, so this is the open house vision. If you want to get in touch with Bennie, you can give him a call at 470-572-4645, and he can be emailed at openhousevision@gmail.com. When we come back, we're going to just talk a little bit more in depth about what you are wanting to do with the open house vision. I think it's just incredible, Bennie. Just everything that you're talking about is so needed, and we have so much work to do, but you have tangible solutions of how we can get that done, and I just think that's amazing. Also, tonight's show is sponsored by earthblendcoffee.global. To order, click on the link in the description box. It's just great coffee. Call in live, 800-492-5186 to be on the show. We'll be back after the break, but we have about 28 seconds. Also, share this platform, you guys. We are live on Facebook, We Believe Digital Podcast. You also can view us on webelievedigital.global. Please share and tag this space. We need all the support. We need all the likes and the commitment to the views and to the shows. We have great programming. So stay tuned. We'll be right back after the break with Mr. Bennie Foster. Do you have something to say? Do you want your voice heard? Join the We Believe Global lineup. Be the star of your own show. For more info, call 800-492-5186, option number 1, or visit online at webelieve.global. You're tuned in to The Straight Report. If you want to call in, please do so at 800-492-5186. We are back with Mr. Bennie Foster, entrepreneur, youth mentor, and everything else in between. So, Bennie, you had mentioned that leadership and unity are some of the things, or lack of unity are some of the things that are affecting the Black community. Talk about the Open House Initiative. What changed your mind about coming back to Jackson? Because you've been gone something like 25 years. What was going on in the city of Jackson that sparked this desire in you to start this Open House Initiative?
I also want to mention communication keys and lack of conflict resolution. And we can talk more about that later,
yes,
as far as some of the things that are missing.
Yes.
Because I'm hearing that a lot of the violence and a lot of the crime has happened with people who knew each other. And segueing into Spurgeon Banyard, daughter, tragically murdered. I send my condolences again to him and his family. I was literally coming back to Jackson to help my mom.
Now, who is he to you?
He's my fraternity brother. Okay. Had not seen him in years, but the name, of course, Banyard, it's a unique name. Yes. And so I was speaking to one of my younger frat brothers, letting him know, yeah, I'm coming to Jackson, I'm helping my mom move. He's like, man, Jackson out of hand. And I was like, what do you mean? He say, you know, Spurgeon Banyard daughter just got murdered tonight. I say, huh? I say, murdered how? He said, the boyfriend's brother. So just to hear the boyfriend's brother, right? I'm thinking maybe there's this big fight, maybe she's doing something wrong, you know, in my mind, but then I hear that they had a disagreement, and later on the brother came and just allegedly, you know, shot her. And I'm confused, and I'm riding, I'm alone, I'm hurt. I'm crying out to God, like, God, what is this? And so I think that's what brought my attention. So getting here and having to move mom, and the truck got stuck in the yard, and all these different things happening, you kind of put things on the back of your mind, right? And just periodically since then, just seeing the great success of Jackson State and hearing, but then also being tapped into certain news broadcasts and certain things on social media, I'm hearing about more deaths. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing about 3 people being found in a house, all with the same last name. Right. And they a little older than me. Mm-hmm. I'm hearing about a lady murdered at the stoplight, and nobody knows why she was murdered. I'm hearing about a 14-year-old carjacking. You may hear, oh my God, what to do? Well, why was that 14-year-old feeling like he has to carjack you? Right. You know, he probably don't even have a driver's license, so it's not about your car. Right. It's about him needing food. It's about him being hungry, which is another initiative that Open House Vision will provide. Food, you know, for people who may be hungry and may need clothes and may need shelter for a certain point of time. You know, it all starts at home. And we're going to take on the responsibility of offering that opportunity for them to have home where they might not have had it, for them to adequately get some issues addressed that may have surfaced while in school, because of the traditional school system. It's not built for every child. You know, it's meant to select employees, and all of our children are not employees. Some of them are entrepreneurs, and we putting them in a system like a matrix to them, to where they feel like they're in prison. I heard this on a report that just recently came out addressing that for every 1,000 people in Jackson, there's been a murder this past year. And so they spoke with a group of young people, and the young people said it's like they are in prison. They're in prison, but yet they're free. That's a very conflicting type of spirit to have on you. Right. You know, and so how can we lift that spirit? By showing them the beauty of being free. Again, we talked about the 3 E's: your environment, your experience, and your exposure. If we change those 3 things, we will change this city. We got to change the environment of this city. We got to change the experiences that our young people are having, because the experiences now are leading them to violence, leading them to anger, leading them to guns, violence. And so we got to change the experiences, and we definitely have to expose them to all of the entrepreneurship things. Imagine putting a paintbrush in a young man's hand or a young lady's hand, and they discover that they can paint and create a business for themselves. But nobody even taught them. Nobody never put a paintbrush in their hand. Imagine bringing back things like home ec and shop, where you can basically do some basic carpentry skills, and they may go ahead and go into construction. You know, we're always building, we're always destroying something in a city, you know. Right. And so these are tangible: HVAC, plumbing. These are things that the young people, and as far as the mental health expansion, what about just understanding that there are some counselors now that will provide services for a limited time, daily or weekly, where they can literally have a hotline number to call and speak to someone, and maybe we can talk them off a limb. maybe we can talk them down from going and get a gun and shooting somebody because the conflict resolution is not there. So again, I think I may have lost place with the question.
No, but, you're right on task. You're right on task.
Just sharing that this whole vision of open house is not about Bennie Foster. And if anybody out there know me, they know that I do what I say and I mean what I say and I say what I mean, and I'm gonna show you tangible results. And I can go on record tonight saying that if the city of Jackson will give me the resources that I need, that we will see tangible results within 90 days. I can say that. I can guarantee within 90 days that the crime rate will decrease, that there will be more conflict resolution that is evident amongst the community, and that these young people will become productive citizens instead of being a deficit to the community.
So I want you to talk about, there was a letter that you had written to, I guess, various people here in the city of Jackson, just calling on help from them. What sort of resources are you needing? And when you sent the letter out, what type of response have you gotten from the letter? Just kind of talk about the letter a little bit and what you put in it.
Very innovative and creative. I say that humbly because social media is a main source of what the young people are utilizing and watching. And so I took to Facebook, and I had about maybe 3,700 friends about 2 weeks ago, and today I maxed out at 5,000. So that's what type of response I've been getting with people saying, wow, okay, this is in Jackson. How can I help? Classmates from high school. Shout out to Darren Chancellor, who's a coach now at Clinton High School. He's been doing quite well. Shout out to Arthur Ricks, who was at one point in a gang, and we lost him. He got back, came back now, and he's actually working with youth in and around Jackson, and he's going to put me in contact with some people. Different people have reached out who may not want to be named.
Gotcha.
And told me that whatever I need, let me know. And so at this point, we're looking for the site. We're looking for a home that's in a commercial zone because there will be traffic, and we don't want people coming in and out of someone's home, environment. But if it's a commercial home, sitting on a corner probably would be preferably with land, because we're also going to do some gardening. We're going to show them the beauty of a seed being planted and how that germination process takes place of you being dark, alone, cold, but then you can produce fruit, And so we want to teach them how to isolate. We also want to share meditation and yoga techniques, which also help with stress. I mentioned that word earlier. I told you we're going to come back to it. These young people are stressed beyond belief. I literally had a opportunity to teach first graders a couple of years ago, and I had a young lady, 6 years old, breaking down in the school because of a test. It's like she was having a nervous breakdown. And I literally said, we can't continue to put our kids under this pressure. And she was feeling like, that test, I got to do well, I got to pass, starting in first grade, got to do it through middle school, high school, I want to get a good job. Everybody knows, just do good in school, graduate, get a degree, get married, have kids. It's not the American dream.
Right.
We know that. 80% of us do not work in the arena that we went to school in to get a degree. I have a master's degree. I have not worked inside of schools a lot. I worked outside of schools. I caught the ones that they sent out the door, that they suspended, that they expelled. And so these young people are not dumb.
Right.
They're geniuses. They just have not had the proper environment, experiences, and exposure. And so this open house will be a resource. That's the main thing. We get the site, we get the location, we build it, they will come. That's the main thing we need right now. And of course, I would like for people to donate their gifts, their talents. If you know how to sew, will you do a sewing class? Some things can be done virtually within the guidelines of COVID-19. Of course, we have to be cognizant of that and be aware. But you can be in New York, and you may have went through Jackson and got a ticket 10 years ago. I'm calling on you, too. Right. I'm calling on you because, you know, Jackson owes you something. You know what I'm saying? And so alumni, Jackson State, Belhaven, Tougaloo, I don't care what school, Callaway Chargers, Callaway, Provine, Mustang, I don't care, Murrah, whoever. If you have ties in Jackson, don't wait till death come knock on your door. to try to be a part of the solution. So those are the main resources we need. We need volunteers. I call them ambassadors, supporters. You can donate financially. If you can't donate financially, can you donate clothes? Can you donate food for our pull-up Sundays, which will be us feeding the community and sharing with them what resources, what classes will be available at the house as well as online that following week. Each week we will have new classes, new workshops. I call them workshops, something that's worth talking about. And basically transportation as well, because we want to take these kids on trips. We want to take them outside the city of Jackson. I'm going to say this, and I'm going to wrap up this part of this answer. I had a program in a school, Towers High School in Atlanta, Georgia, which was a Title I school, which means that it didn't have all the appropriate economic things that other schools may have. And we literally had a program, the Mayo MOVE project. MOVE stands for Motivate, Observe, Validate, and Expose. Very successful program. Our end of the year program was to go and visit 3 types of home: $100,000 home, $250,000 home, $1 million home, and show them the socioeconomic status around each area of that home. And when they saw the $1 million home, we was like, you start trying to obtain this type of thing now, right here in school. And
talk about the mindset and how that helps with teaching a child to dream. Just talk about that.
There has to be a paradigm shift. They only can see what they're seeing.
Right.
And so unless we show them something different, Miss Brenda said she did some research on me. And,
I did. I was waiting to get to that too.
Recently, I spoke about the 5 P's of power, the 5 P's of power for 2022. And it's the right people, right place, right plan, right position, right posture. And all of those are key and significant to where you literally are reminded of who you are, but that each person was designed to help other people. God says you show your love to me by your love from one to another. So when you're not loving on other people, you're not loving God. And so we can get spiritual, we can get super pseudo-spiritual, but you can't be so spiritual that you're walking on water and you're no earthly good.
Right.
You have to be able to be common. Right. If we believe in God, if we believe in the Bible, look at how everybody, I've never seen a check written and given to someone signed Jehovah Jireh. I've never seen a check written Almighty God.
Right.
God blesses through people.
Through us.
And I'm calling on Jackson, Mississippi to help Jackson, Mississippi.
And this could very well be labeled a pro-life movement, because you're talking about saving lives.
Yes, ma'am.
A lot of people talking about they're pro-life, but they don't do things that sustain life.
Right.
So we got a generation of kids.
This is about maintaining, sustaining, and increasing quality life.
Right.
There's not a quality life here.
Right.
We have to provide a quality life. We can literally pick any neighborhood and begin to show these young people how to be entrepreneurs. And this is just a concept, but I believe this will work. We can show them how to sell ice cream. We can show them how to do a hot dog stand, a lemonade stand, something very simple, hamburger stand, fries, wings, right? And each Saturday, we can meet those young people there and support their business and show them how literally you can come up with an idea, buy a product, create a service, and get paid.
Exactly.
I want to talk about that some more, Bennie, because in your letter that I read, it says, through the facilitation of a decisive curriculum, and you utilize virtual workshops, boot camp challenges, and you did mention the camping and fishing excursions. But talk about the virtual workshops, WORTH shops. Talk about that.
A bunch of times we go to workshops, and there's this big thing on social media where they bait and switch you. Master's class. You go on, you watch a 10-minute something, get you excited. You go in, they speak for 90 minutes to make you feel like your $1,300 was worth something. Right. It wasn't. But they still haven't told you. And then there's a window that goes into a window that ends up being a rabbit hole. And you find yourself going down this rabbit hole. We know because done a lot of intervention, prevention, but also
Hold that thought, Bennie. We're going to talk about workshops when we come back. Tonight's show is sponsored by earthblendcoffee.global. To order, click on the link in the description box. It's just great coffee. Call in live when we return, 800-492-5186 to be on the show. We'll be right back. Also, if you could put that open house vision up, sir, so that the people can see where to call in. We'll be right back.
I'm LeGrand
Like,
Elliott.
no, I ain't
I'm
finished.
Cindy Ayers
And
Elliott.
we have a brand new show called Ag and Culture. We'll be discussing all things agriculture.
But more specifically, how it affects farmers and ranchers of color with national and local guests.
And of course, we're talking culture, food, wine, health, politics, education, and so much more.
Join us for informative and fun conversation with guests from all over the country.
It's a fresh new show, Ag and Culture, every Tuesday morning at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. on the East, and 7 a.m. on the West.
Watch us on our YouTube channel, MS Footprint Farms.
And on WeBelieve.global.
Advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1. You're tuned in to The Straight Report with my guest, Mr. Bennie Foster. And Bennie, we were talking about workshops. You were going over that and talking about all the money we waste on workshops and we don't feel any more whole. And
Yeah, I greatly say, I humbly say this, that you give me 17 to 20 minutes in front of a young person and I can find out what's going on with them and what we need to do to move forward. And in that, I can't necessarily hold their hand, but you have to create some type of viable resource for them to say, like when I played basketball and ran track, even though I end up being an educator, that basketball and track kept me out of trouble.
Yeah.
I had something that made me want to be in that school element, and I was ADHD, A through Z, 1, 2, 3. I was everything they wanted to label it. But if I'm tapped into and tuned into something that strikes my interest, there's nothing you can do to keep me from making all A's.
Right.
You know, and so when I changed my major, when I went and did my community service, I finished with like a 4.0 for student teaching and a 3.8 GPA in the education arena. And before that, I was there for a few years, kind of losing my, not really knowing why I was there. But once I found out what I was in love with, that led me, that guided me. You know, and so when you think about that 5 P's again, the right people, the right place, the right plan, you got to be in position. And in that position, you have to have the proper posture. I'm not here as an end-all, be-all. I'm here as an alternative. That's what the young people need. And in it, we have to understand that there's a pattern that gets those results.
Right.
And inside of the pattern, we have something called a cycle. So even now when we talk about a workshop, I can teach this workshop about breaking the cycle because we talk about breaking the pattern, but there's something in between the pattern of you going from saying, I'm not going to drink anymore to you start back drinking.
Right.
Where is that cycle? What happens?
Going on?
What's going on in the middle of those two things, reconnecting, you know, instead of me saying, you know what, I'm going to go meditate.
Right.
Guess what? I didn't know about meditating until someone introduced me to it through a workshop.
Right.
So if you in New York, if you in Alaska, you literally can now sign up, contact me if there's something you think the young people can use as a tangible, viable resource that can literally change their life. Like I had someone contact me about a travel company. I asked her, how old do you need to be? She said 18. I said, would you consider doing a workshop? You know, and she may be in another state, you know? And so if you are a person that sells insurance, if you are an affiliate marketer, can you teach a workshop within 17 to 20 minutes? They say the attention span is 16, but you have to have an intro and you have to have an outro. So I say 17 to 20 minutes. Can you get on weekly and teach a class? Will it be 4 weeks that you teach this class? Can I count on you to take time out of your busy schedule to contribute to saving not just a life of someone being murdered, but the person, when they murder that person, they arrested, their life is destroyed.
Right.
Exactly.
And so now I'm asking everybody, anything Jackson, you know, and you're talking to someone that has been gone for over 25 years, didn't see this coming, but I'm here, and I'm not here out of my own might and strength. I'm here by God tapping me on the shoulder and saying, but what about Jackson?
Right.
What about Jackson? You did this in Atlanta. You did this in Alabama. You did gang conferences in L.A. You done spoke. You done been on TV. You done been on radio. But what about Jackson,
Amen.
Mississippi?
What about home?
Amen.
Right.
What about home? And coming here, creating a home environment through Open House Vision of Resource Center And I want to, is this the last segment? Yeah.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about the Diamond Life perspective,
Yes.
the concept and the philosophy that we will be utilizing at Open House.
Yes.
When you think about a baseball diamond, you have home plate, first plate, second plate, third plate, and you have that thing that we don't think about, the pitcher. The pitcher is in the middle of the diamond. So the Diamond Life perspective is some young people have not received what they needed at home. Nurturance, love, discipline, structure, and discipline, love, and structure, they cousins. All of them work together. You know, because love is discipline, discipline is structure. Once you love something, you discipline yourself, and you get the structure that's needed to maintain and increase a successful life. And so when you think about school being first base, how can a kid go to school and adequately be effective if home has some things missing? And so now we got to take care of home plate, get them on the base, see what life pitching at them, let them get on base, teach them how to get a hit. Well, guess what? I'm interested in sewing.
Right.
So, cause school is a place that you're supposed to learn how to earn. But yet, we have a lot of stuff in school that does not deal with social economics or deal with real life.
That's true.
I don't know why I had all those algebraic concepts that I had to pass, and I have not utilized not one. So the school aspect of the Open House vision will be showing them how to learn and earn. But then also now you think about either employment or entrepreneurship ventures, and that's the second base, which is work or employment. You know, you can be self-employed, or you can create a job for yourself, or you can be an entrepreneur and show them how to let it work for them, let money work for them. So that's the second base. And the third base is where we now see the effect of them not having the home, the school, and the work, and that's the community.
Right.
How can we show them how to be productive citizens in the community? We can't do that if we don't deal with home.
Right.
If we don't deal with the fact that they felt inadequate in school. They may have been bullied, or they may have just had low self-esteem issues. They didn't have conflict resolution. They didn't have anger management. All these things can be provided from the people in the community.
And we also need to talk, not to cut you off, Benny, but to talk about traumas that children go through.
Unresolved
sexual,
issues. Unresolved
physical,
issues,
verbal,
challenges
you know
that no
what I mean?
one's dealt with.
Exactly.
Sometimes they just need to talk. They just need to share and someone to talk through it. So now when we think about that diamond perspective of home plate, school being first plate, work or employment being second plate, third plate being community, we got to now show them how to deal with different issues that the pitcher going to pitch at them.
That is deep.
Because that's what they're dealing with.
That's true.
They do not know how to responsibly respond to life. And we're not showing them anything different with some of the stuff we spoke about earlier, with some of the leaders here.
True. Go ahead.
I was thinking about my grandson. He played basketball, right?
Yes,
when he first started playing, every game he lost, he cried. You know, what our kids have to learn in our community, patience. We have, I've gone through some things in my 67
How
years.
to lose gracefully.
And I can look back and say, through God's grace, because I'm a believer too,
Yes.
I made it.
Yes.
So we can overcome. So the first time that child get up there and swing, he might miss.
Right.
It takes time. We live in a microwavable world now. So we have to be patient with our kids, but we got to make that commitment to them. And to ourselves.
You're absolutely right.
Yes.
Go ahead.
Go ahead. What?
How do you use multimedia and technology as well? Because we're talking about the Open House Initiative and everything that you're envisioning providing. So how will technology and multimedia play into everything?
I'm so glad you asked that. You can follow at Open House Jackson on IG and Bennie Hitmaker Foster on Facebook. That name Hitmaker is not just a name that I wanted to pick. I produce music. I have movie scripts, films that these young people can literally bring to life. I've worked with several people throughout the music industry, and I'm on the side of music registration, music production, knowing how to properly register your music. Like some young people, they're putting their music all over social media, have no idea that there's something called the ISRC code, which monetizes your music. The ISRC code is the social security number for each song, and they have no idea. Matter of fact, you have some platforms say, don't have one, we'll give one to you. And then next thing you know, they own your music.
That's right.
And so I'm here to educate, I'm here to empower, I'm here to enlighten. I'm here to share resources. I don't know how to do everything that may be available at the resource center, but I know someone that does.
Right.
And that's what we learn through being an entrepreneur. That's what we learn through, some people don't know what subcontracting is.
Right.
That's when somebody have a business and say, we're doing this and we're doing that. And they may not be physically doing those things, but they have subcontractors who are affiliated with their company, who get some young people don't even know what a 1099 is.
Right.
But I've lived very well off of 1099 throughout the years, doing 1099 work. Professional photographer, things of those. So multimedia comes into play to where I've sat down and saw social media influencers, and we counted up to $8 million in 1 year from them making money off Instagram. And so I want to show the young people how to stop being a consumer of multimedia and how to be a producer of multimedia and know how to monetize their Instagram, know how to create music, create a film, and monetize that. All of those things are available to them. But if you're ignorant, which means not to know, you're in the dark. And so we just want to shine some light and show them that these various resources, very viable ways that you can make money are available to you. And we want to kind of offer that versus them picking up a gun, them killing their friend, killing their mom, killing their sister. I heard a young man killed his mom and sister recently here in Jackson. I can't phantom that, no matter how angry I get, because I understand that life is precious and there's an alternative. If we go to sleep and wake up, new mercies, new compassion each morning is affordable to you. New mercies, new compassion. And we as individuals saying that we love God, we got to show that. We got to show these young people that there are a different, like my mom say, one day at a time.
That's it.
If it's too much to bear, one day at a time. Wake up tomorrow, it will be a different scenario. But if you take somebody's life or take your own life, that's it.
That's right.
That's it.
That's it.
Bennie, we have less than 3 minutes. I just want you to take this time to share whatever it is you like to share. If you want to look in the camera or just talk to us. Just
so I want to share a quick story. Been doing this for a minute, intervention prevention. I was in Atlanta, Metro Atlanta. Shout out to Miss Carrie Hamilton. She just lost her husband. She was one of the people that was very instrumental with allowing me to come in as a volunteer. And 2 years ago, I was the keynote speaker. So I went from being a volunteer to a keynote speaker at a graduation because I was given a chance. And so I want to respect her in this story by saying condolences to you concerning the losing of your husband. We literally went in and they were doing this type of May Day where they were outside a majority of the day because, there's limited time that the young people when incarcerated can go outside just like the adults. And so we did this May Day, and me and a gentleman named Bobby Frazier, he's a Kappa. That show you fraternities and sororities, we can work together. I'm an Omega, he's a Kappa. And we went in and we was teaching them steps. And we was teaching them how to do steps in a creative way because we told them we don't want you to be competitive. And that's the key too, Jackson. We have to be creative and not competitive. And we taught them how to be creative with their steps. And this young man came in to get his release papers. This guard came in to give a young man his release papers. And everybody was excited, like, oh, you got a sweet release. These are kids talking. Oh, it's your birthday and you getting released. You got a sweet release. And the kid had his countenance where he wasn't happy. And so me and Bobby walked over and we said, what's going on, young man? You getting ready to get out. Now, this step show was Friday. This was a Wednesday. The young man looked past us and looked at the guard and say, can I get released on Friday, after Friday?
He wanted to stay.
He's in jail, but he wanted to stay because we gave him something to believe in. We put him in a family. He felt like he was a part of something. So even though he was incarcerated, he'd rather stay 3 extra days just so he could be a part of something. Jackson, Open House Vision is for you to be a part of something. It's for these young people to be a part of something. We will release the jail cell that they feel like they in by operating as a unit, as a community that loves its community, that loves its youth, that love each other, and we can show them this through Open House Vision. I salute you and I appreciate you in advance, and thank you guys for the opportunity to be here.
That was amazing, Bennie.
Great
Thank
information.
you. Great information. You see our flyer on the screen there, the Open House Vision. You can call Bennie at 470-572-4645. Email them at openhousevision@gmail.com. Tonight's show has been sponsored by earthblend.coffee. We will see you on the next episode.
Good job.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. So
advertise on WeBelieve.global, a brand new digital media platform. Share your brand with our audience on our many global live stream TV broadcasts and over the radio. For more info, visit WeBelieve.global or call 800-492-5186, option 1.